next topic says accidentals. We'll be looking at the three primary accidentals used in music. We've got the sharp, the flat, and the natural. A sharp raises a note by a semitone. The flat lowers a note by a semitone, while the natural restores a note back to its original value. I'll show you more of this very soon. So we'll be looking at accidentals. Now the first one we'll consider really is called the sharp. First one we'll consider is the sharp. The sharp is drawn this way. So you have this. The sharp is drawn that way. And exercise 1 on the ABRSM workbook says, what is this sign called? What is this sign called? So the answer to put here would be sharp. It is called a sharp. Now the next one says, what does it do to the note that follows it? Now what a sharp does is it raises a note by a semitone. A sharp raises a note by a semitone. Now a semitone is the shortest distance on the keyboard. In the next topic we'll be looking at semitones and tones, and you get a better understanding of that. What a sharp does is it raises a note by a semitone. Now the next accidental we'll be considering is called a flat. It is drawn this way. Flat drawn this way. Or let me try that again. You have it this way. Now be careful not to write a B. This is not a flat. Be careful not to write a B, a lowercase b. That is not how to write a flat. So on the Theory and Practice Grade 1 workbook, you have this. What is this sign called? What is this sign called? So what you need to write here is flat, because this sign is called a flat. And what does it do? A flat lowers a note by a semitone. A flat lowers a note by a semitone. The last accidental we'll be considering here is called the natural. The natural. Now the natural is drawn this way. Right? It is drawn this way. This is a natural. So on the workbook it says, what is this sign called? What is this sign called? So this sign is called a natural. It's called a natural. And what does a natural sign do? A natural sign restores a note back to its original value. A natural sign restores a note back to its original value. For instance, if you've had let's say for instance you had a C sharp. Now if after the C sharp you have another C that is on the same C sharp line with a natural, then it is no longer a C sharp, it becomes a natural. So basically a natural restores a note, either a flat or a sharp note, to the natural sign. So instead of becoming a C sharp, it becomes a C natural, normal. But you get a better understanding of that in the next topic, semitones and tones. Now, the same way we learned how to place our music notes on the staff, it is very important to also learn how to place the accidentals on the staff. It is very important. Placing the accidentals wrongly would mean something else, and it will be completely wrong. So it's very important to place our accidentals properly on the staff. So I would want to show us a quick example here. So let's say we are expected to draw a sharp on the space, right? A sharp on the space. We have this. Right. Now the most important part in the sharp is this middle section. This middle section. If your sharp is supposed to be in a space, then that section should be in that space. It should not exceed that space, should not go outside that space. So if your sharp is supposed to be in a space, you should have that cubicle, that center point, in that space. The same way, if your sharp is supposed to be on a line, then that line must pass through that middle section. Let me give you an example here. So you have this. Yeah. So if your sharp is supposed to be on a line, then you have it this way. You can notice that the fourth line actually passes through the sharp, and there's equal space up and below. So it's very important to place these accidentals accurately. The same thing applies to the flat. If for instance, your flat is supposed to be in a space, you would have something like this. So this section here would be in that space. It wouldn't go outside the space, right? Now, if it is supposed to be on a line, you have something like this, right? The line would pass through that point, this point, to pass through it, and you have equal space below and above it. So the same thing applies to the natural sign. If you had to add a natural on a space, you would have something like this, right? You have something like this, and if you had to have it on a line, you would have something like this, right? So the line passes through that middle point. So the main thing to look out for when writing your accidentals on the staff is the middle, the main point of it. And for a flat, it is this point, right? For a flat, it is this point. For a sharp, this middle point is very important. Then for a natural, this section as well is very important. So let's go back to the ABRSM workbook. Now look at this. They've actually written some sharps, flat, and natural sign on the staff. So in this instance, I hope you remember that the fourth line on the treble clef is D, right? The fourth line on the treble clef is D. So because a sharp has been added to this fourth line on the treble clef, makes this line D sharp. It's no longer D, it becomes D sharp. Now, after the D sharp, the next one, on that same fourth line, you can see a natural sign, right? And they've called that a D natural. So that line, whatever note you find on that line at that point with the natural sign, becomes a D natural. So that's how to place, and they've given you an example, really. An example of how to place your sharp on a line is here. This is how to place your sharp on a line, as I explained earlier. This is how to place your natural sign on a line, as I explained earlier as well. This is how to place your sharp in a space. This is how to place your natural sign in a space as well. This is how to place your flats on a line. And this is how to place your flats on a space. So it's very important to look at those examples carefully and learn how to place our accidentals properly. So let's go to exercise 2. It says draw a sharp in front of each of these notes. In front of each of these notes. Now notice that they said in front. Now in front does not mean after the notes. It means in front, actually. In front, before the notes. So when you add accidentals, you add it before the notes. Though it is called G sharp, right? But when you write it, you don't put the sharp after the notes. You put the sharp or the flat or the natural before the notes. So look at this example, right? So this is, what is a fifth line on the treble clef? That is an F, right? The fifth line on the treble clef is an F. So this is F sharp. Then the third space on the treble clef is what? Is a C. So this is C sharp. Then the first space on the treble clef is an F. So this is F sharp, right? So they want you to draw a sharp in front of each of these notes. So the first one, 2A. So what do? We come here and we draw a sharp in front of the notes. That's our sharp. The next one, like I mentioned earlier, make sure your pencil is sharp. So that is that. So the first exercise says draw a sharp in front of each of these notes, and by in front they mean before the note, and I've done that for you here. So I will do exercise 2B, which says draw a flat in front of each of these notes. Draw a flat in front of each of these notes. So what I will come here to do is come to the third line and draw a flat. Come to the third line here in front of the notes, that is before the notes, and draw a flat. So I would want you to try this also. So try exercise 2C. What you need to do basically is add a flat before this note, meaning the second line. Write a flat in front of this note, right? Then come here also and write a flat, right? Draw a flat in front of each of this note. They actually want to write it twice. Although these two notes are the same, but they want you to write it in front of both of them. So you have a flat here, another flat in front of that one. So try that on your workbook. So exercise 2D says draw a natural in front of each of these notes. So they want you to draw a natural in front of exercise D, 2D, and 2E. So I would work out this one and ask you to do this on your workbook. So let's try exercise 2D, a natural sign in front of each of them. So we'll come here, and we have that, a natural sign. Let's try the next one. A natural sign in front of that. Natural sign in front of that. Then the final one. Natural sign in front of that. So basically what this exercise is about is to ensure you practice how to write your accidentals on the stave and in front of your notes. So I encourage you to attempt exercise 2E as well, and I hope you've also tried this on your workbook. So work out everything, make sure they are written clearly on your workbooks. So look at this, a note for you to remember. It says the signs for sharps, flats, and naturals are called accidentals. So when someone says, oh, do you know what is called accidentals in music? You should be able to tell them, yes, I know what accidentals are. By that you mean sharps, flats, and natural. So quickly we go to exercise 3C. Sorry, exercise 3, and we try to answer A, B, and C. So look at this. It says write the name of each of the notes marked with a number. Right? Write the name of each of the notes marked with a number. The letter name is enough if there is no accidental. So if there is no accidental, just write the alphabet of that note. But if there's an accidental, include it in your answer. So it says if there is an accidental, you must write it, e.g. F sharp. The answers to numbers 1 and 2 are given as examples. So let's look at this. Now, the first thing you need to ask yourself before answering this question is, what clef am I dealing with? What clef am I dealing with? Is it the treble clef, which is also known as the G clef, or is it the bass clef, which is also known as the F clef? So what clef am I dealing with? And from what we can see here, exercise 3A has got a treble clef, that is the G clef. So we know we are dealing with the G clef. And on the G clef, treble clef, you have your second line as what? Your second line is G. Remember, your first line on your treble clef is E, then your second line is G, your third line is B, your fourth line is D, and your fifth line is F. Your first space is F, your second space is A, your third space is C, and your fourth space is E. So to answer this question, they say write the name of each of these notes marked with a number. So number 1 is what? Second line. So what is the second line on the treble clef? It is G. But this time around, it is not just G. There is an accidental in front of it. What is that accidental? It is called a sharp, right? So this is no longer G. Instead of writing G, you write G sharp. That is why you have this answer given. So the note under number 1 is G sharp, right? The note under number 1 is G sharp. It has been given to us. So let's look at the next example. Number 2 is also on the second line, and that is a G as well, because we are still dealing with the treble clef, which has G as the second line. So the second line is a G. This time around, there is no accidental in front of the G. That is why you have G written here. So the second line is what? Is a G. Now, number 3 is, the note is on what line? It's on the third line. The note is on the third line. Remember, we are still dealing with the treble clef. So what alphabet is on the third line of the treble clef? What alphabet is on the third line of the treble clef? It is a B. I hope you know that. It is a B. But you won't write B, because that B is not just B. It has got a flat in front of it. So it is B flat, right? It is B flat. So you come here and you write B flat. So number 3 is B flat. Right. Now, look at number 4. Number 4. What do you have here? Number 4. What do you have here? It is on the third line as well. Number 4 is on the third line as well. And what is on the third line of our treble clef? It is a B. But the B is not just B. It is a B natural. It is what? A B natural. So now you can either, if you write this, if you write a B, this B is the same as B natural, right? A B is the same as B natural. But just for clarity's sake, so you understand what we are doing here, so I would encourage you to write B natural, right? B natural, because it is not an ordinary B, it is B natural. Now look at number 5. Number 5 is also on what? Number 5 is on the third line. It's on the third line, and we're still dealing with the treble clef. So this is also what? A B. But in this case, there is no accidental, so just write B. Just write B. Now, number 6 is on the second space of the treble clef. Second space. So what alphabet is on the second space of the treble clef? I believe you know that. So it is A. The second space of the treble clef as an A. So if you answer this way, then you will be marked correct. So be very careful. Always read carefully. Look at the notes before answering them. So let's quickly move to exercise 3B. I'll do that with you and expect that you will work out exercise 3C on your own. So let's go to exercise 3B. Exercise 3B. Now look at this. Like I said, the first thing you need to ask yourself is, what clef am I dealing with? Am I on the treble clef, also known as the G clef, or am I dealing with the bass clef, which is also known as the F clef? So exercise 3B shows the bass clef. So it means we are dealing with the bass clef, right? Now, number 1, what alphabet is this? Now, what is that note? It is on the second space. It is on the second space. And what alphabet is on the second space on the bass clef? What alphabet is on the second space of the bass clef? That is a C. That is a C. So we should just write a C down here, right? Because on the bass clef, your first line is a G, right? Your second line is a B. Your third line is a D. Your fourth line is F, and your fifth line is A. Your first space on the bass clef is A. Your second space is C. Your third space is E, and your fourth space is a G. So the question is, number one, what alphabet is that on the second space of the bass clef? It is definitely a C. Now let's go to number two. Number two has this. So the notes above the fifth line of the bass clef, the note immediately above the fifth line of the bass clef. So the first question you should ask yourself, what is the fifth line of the bass clef? You should know that the fifth line of the bass clef is an A, right? The fifth line is A. So if that is A, then what is this note called? This is a B. Because if the fifth line is A, the next one is B. Remember, in music, we only make use of alphabet A to G. So you have A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Then from G, you go back to A. There is no H. So you keep going in that cycle. So you get to A to G, you go back to A. And you continue that cycle, you get to G, you go back to A. So in this case, your fifth line is an A, then this note is B. But it's not just B, because there's a flat in front of it. It is called B flat. So you come down here and you write B flat. This is going to test your understanding of the treble clef and the bass clef. So take your time and walk slowly, and you should get it right. So let's look at number three. Number three, you have a note on the second space of the bass clef. Remember, we are still on the bass clef. So you have the second space of the bass clef. Now, what is your first line? Your first line is G. So if you count G, A, B, C. So your second space is a C. But in this case, it is not just a C. There's an accidental in front of it. What accidental is it? It is a sharp. So this is not C, but C sharp. This is C sharp. So you come here, write C sharp. Right? Write C sharp. Now let's quickly do 4, 5, and 6. Number 4 is on the second space as well. Second space of the bass clef. So what alphabet is that? That is a C. That is a C. Number 5, what alphabet is this on the second line of the bass clef? The second line of the bass clef, remember, is a B. Second line is a B. So this is a B. Then number 6, the first line of the bass clef. So what alphabet is the first line of the bass clef? It is very simple. That is a G. The first line of the bass clef is a G. So you just come here, you write G. Understood? So I expect that you work out this on your own, exercise 3C, and work out this on your own. So what you need to do is, number 1, ask yourself, what clef am I dealing with? Is it the treble clef or the bass clef? In this case, it is the treble clef, right? It is a treble clef. So you come to each of the notes marked with numbers, number 1, number 2, number 3, 4, 5, and 6. So for instance, this one, number 1, it's on the first space, the first space of the treble clef. So ask yourself, what note is on the first space of treble clef? Then write that alphabet here. Then do the same with the other questions. So I wish you all the very best. So take time to practice this and continue to memorize and understand the fact that accidentals are basically at this level 3. You should be concerned with these 3: the sharp, the flat, and the natural sign. Now, as you progress in theory of music studies, you encounter some other additions. But for now, just understand, you need to understand this. The sharp raises a note by a semitone, the flat lowers a note by a semitone, and the natural restores a note to its original value. God bless you mightily as you continue to practice. Amen.